Hey, Mean Matt here, and I really wanted to do this on my camera, but whatever. Shit happens, I'm doing it on my webcam. But, anyways, yeah. Let's get it on. Dynamite, Grandslam, and yeah, holy shit, this was a good show. Very awesome indeed. Obviously, great professional wrestling at its finest. And it kicked off with the debut of the American Dragon, Bryan Danielson versus Kenny Omega. And this was cool. And of course, you had Don Callis in his corner. But this was a really good match. I mean, these two really beat the shit out of each other. And you had no idea what was going to happen. I mean, you had this hard-hitting action on the outside where Bryan got hurt on the LAD. You had, of course, Kenny do his Terminator thing. There was an outside spot where Bryan got thrown into the table. So, I mean, this was very cool. Obviously, the bell lock was used in this match by Bryan. Unfortunately, yeah, this kind of was dumb. Well, I mean, I don't know. There's hit or miss. It was a draw. Now, obviously, I feel like draws are stupid, but there's two ways of looking at it. Like, I mean, I don't think Bryan should have won the title so soon. I mean, that's what happened. This was for the title. I mean, this is kind of like, you know, a sign of more matches to come, but I'm not sure when that's going to happen. This was a very good match, despite the finish, and you had the Elite come down to the ring. Well, it was the Young Bucks and Adam Cole, and they came in and they beat Bryan Danielson, but then of course Christian Cage and Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus came down to make the save. This feud isn't done, obviously, for sure, it's not finished. And then you have the other promo from CM Punk, and he came down and he said he was in a good mood. Well, it was almost like he was in a lot of moods, like he was pissed off, but he was in a good mood, but then this and then that. So, obviously not sure about that, but anyways, he talks about it's about time that professional wrestling came back to New York, obviously being in Madison Square Garden. And it's like, okay, look, you have already said your piece about what happened 7 years ago. You've already taken pot shots at WWE. And we all know that SmackDown took place in Madison Square Garden not too long ago. Which, by the way, if you're not a fan of WWE, don't try to keep up with it. You know, Phil is obviously still bitter about leaving the company 7 years ago, which I can understand, but at the same time, make leg frozen and let it the fuck go. Anyway, so he talked about his match that will be coming up on Rampage against Will Hobbs. So that should be a good match as well. You had Brian Pillman Jr. taking on MJF, and this match was so close. I mean, again, another really good wrestling match. And I think that this is kind of like I'm not sure what's going to happen in the future with Bryan Jr., but I'm sure they're going to have another match down the road. I mean, MJF ended up going over, but I mean, this was cool in itself, and I think that we'll find out more to see how this feud goes. Then we had a promo backstage with Chris Jericho and Jake Hagar, and talking about certain things. So, oh yeah, American Top Team. So, we'll see when that match happens. You have a match with Sting and Darby Allen versus FTR, who came out in their, it looked like inspired by NWO, obviously FTR, but it was, and so this match was cool. Tully Blanchard was there, and yeah, very awesome, just to see that. And there was a few good spots. Sting looked like he was about to become a new member of Behemoth, although I understand that he was trying to replicate Darby's face paint as well. So, yeah, this was cool. And I said it when Sting came back to wrestling. I didn't think he was going to be a good wrestler. I didn't think he had it in him anymore. But obviously he has had some really good matches in AEW. So, yeah, this was cool. You had a lot of good spots here. You have Sting, who threw Dash to the ropes. He came back, hit Sting, fell on the mat. And Sting kind of just stood there for a bit and then headbutt Dash in the ding ding, which obviously I'm sure he remembered this morning to wear a fucking cup! Yeah. So the match went on. Darby had some good shots in there too, but this match ended with Sting doing that move, I can't remember. He actually did do the Scorpion Death Drop, or he was going to, after Dash was going for a tombstone, and Sting reversed it. And so you have that when Darby was going on the top rope, about to do a coffin death drop, but then Wilder had pushed him off the top rope. There was a point where there was a chair in place in the turnbuckle, and Sting was going to do a Stinger Splash, but then of course stopped himself after seeing the chair, and then had a confrontation with Tully Blanchard, which I thought was pretty cool. A little throwback to WCW days, and yeah, so Darby and Sting won, so that was pretty cool. You had, of course, excitement for next week with Miro versus Sammy Guevara for the TNT title, so that should be interesting. You had a match with Cody Rhodes and, I was going to say Aleister Black, Malachi Black, same thing, Tommy End. And of course this was a really good match, and I mean, there was talks of the crowd who was going to boo Cody Rhodes for some reason, and they were cheering Malachi, so that was interesting in itself. But yeah, these two really beat the shit out of each other. There was a point, and yes, Brandy is back after maternity leave, I guess. Aleister sat down into the ring, as he does, and for some reason Brandy did the same thing. She came into the ring and she sat cross-legged. She flipped him off and said, "Fuck you," and that didn't go over well. But yeah, Malachi didn't do too much to her, if anything. But yeah, this was a really good match. It ended with Malachi doing a black mist, while the referee was distracted. So I'm not sure if that's going to be his gimmick. That would be pretty fucking awesome if it was. I don't know that. You know, you had a lot of, like, Asuka did it once. Chris Jericho did it, you know. And, you know, you've had it in the past with Tajiri and the Great Muta, so that was pretty cool. But yeah, Malachi ended up winning this match, and we'll see what happens in the future with that. Then the main event was the AEW Women's title. You have Ruby Soho versus Britt Baker, and this match was pretty cool as well. Obviously, Ruby has had better experience in AEW. I mean, fortunately, a lot of them got fired, and that's just the way it is. But yeah, she seems to be doing a lot better. I mean, this match was pretty cool. And you know what? She main evented, which obviously she never ever did with the Riot Squad in WWE. So that's unfortunate, but there it is. Yeah, she tried, and there was a lot of close calls, but Brett ended up going over with the claw. And so, yeah, Brett is still your women's champion. And so there's that. This was a good show, and I mean, Rampage is tomorrow night. And unfortunately, I don't watch it. I should. Same as Dark. But this was a good show indeed, and I think that I can't wait to see what happens next week. So, yeah, this is going to continue. Rampage, Grandslam. So, yeah, this is CM Punk versus Will Hobbs will be awesome. But yeah, there it is. Talk to you later.
Alright.
Bye.
So you know that them cutting WCW was a long time coming. But I think that there's this myth out there that Jamie Keller that's why he took pleasure in cutting WCW. I don't think that's the case at all. Because if you look at some of his earlier interviews,